Welcome to Kitchen Table Creativity. My name is Donna Leffler, and we are going to paint a very simple wreath today. And this wreath holds a special place in my heart. This is in celebration of Memorial Day, which is this coming Monday in the United States. And on that day, we celebrate our military heroes. And my dad was one of those. He passed a couple of years ago. And so I'm going to create this in honor and remembrance and in thanks for his service in the military. So I'm going to quickly go over the things that I'm going to use to create this. First of all, I have this about a 5.5, 6-inch square piece of watercolor paper. And I get paper that's big and then I cut it down. And I just find that that's really a great way, because then you have little pieces that happen where you can test colors on them, like this little piece that was on the edge. And if you want to trace this along with me, the way I do that is I get waxless graphite paper. I put that face down and then I put the image over it, and I use a stylus, or you can use a pen or a pencil or the end of a paintbrush or whatever type of stylus you have, to trace the general image. And then it's just much easier to paint. I find it's easier than hand drawing, but if you want to hand draw, you can by all means do that. So if you want to print the traceable, just go into the description. It might say more. If you don't see it, click on that. It will open up the entire description. And in there, I have a PDF. You can print it out, and it's just a very basic like black and white line drawn image of this. And I'm also going to trace the words in the middle, so I don't have to worry about hand writing those too. So I just try to keep things as simple as possible. Now I'm using this Japanese set of paints. I think it's called Kirtaki. I don't know how to pronounce it. Kirtake, or I get it on Amazon. Super beautiful paints. I will put the link in the description to that, but by all means use whatever kind of watercolor paints you have. I have a dark blue, a dark green, a gray, golden yellow, and a red, a true red. And so those are the 5 colors that I'm going to use. I have my ceramic palette here. I have 2 brushes, but I think I'm probably going to end up just using the smaller one. This is a number 1, and this is a number 2. I'll have to try. I think I'm just going to go with the number 1 because this is a really small project today. There's no large areas to cover. This is a round tip brush. Use whatever kind of brush you have. If you want to hand draw this, you can make it bigger. You can increase the PDF if you know how to do that and print it out bigger. I also have 3 jars of water over here. I have 2 fine tip pens. One I'm going to use for outlining and the other probably to sign my work. These are permanent micron pens. And then I have the scrap piece of paper, and I also recommend that you have a piece of just like paper towel or a rag on hand so that you can blot your brush and really control your water. I just like to put this like on the side where I'm working so I can easily get to it. Then I have my spray bottle of water, which I use to wet my paints, and that helps them just be ready and more mixed up with water and ready to go when I'm ready to use it. And so what I'm going to do is create this, and then I'm going to write a thank you note. Even though my dad has passed, I think this is a way to honor him. I'm going to write a thank you note on the back to him, and I'm going to hang it up in my house so that I can, when I see it, I'll have a nice remembrance of him. But also, we didn't really celebrate the fact that he served in the military when he was alive. He really didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about it that much. And so I'm kind of sad because of that. And he had a full military burial, and it was just beautiful. So I was working on the video of that recently, and that kind of brought this whole thing back to me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trace this, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here you can see I have the basic outline traced, and this is the image that you will see when you go to print that out in the description. So, like I said before, you can trace this if you want. You don't have to do that. You can, by all means, you could do this. You could like have maybe a lid to something that's the size of the circle. Trace that first, and then just hand paint in the stars and the flowers. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start with the small brush This is a number 2, and I'm going to start with this gray paint, and you can just leave the white stars white if you want, but I'm going to add just a touch of gray to them, and I'm going to water the gray way down, make it very, very light and watery, so that I can just give them a little more depth. And that is a very, very light gray. So that's what I'm going to start with. I'm going to start with the white stars, and I always say to start with the lightest color first. And so the other colors are, other than the yellow, which we're going to actually do the yellow last, so you don't have to really worry about the yellow yet. So I'm just going to add a very light bit of gray to these stars, and I just realized that I also have this like gold, white, not gold, silver kind of sparkly paint in this set. So I think I might add a touch of that to these white stars also. But, you know, if you don't have that, do not worry about adding it. You can just do what I'm doing right now if you want, or you can just leave them totally white. And we're going to go back and outline them with a black pen anyway, and so they will stand out a lot more once we do that. Okay, so we really only have 4 of these. We have 2 at the top and 1 at the side over here. And I'm just making it just a tiny bit darker. And I'm just doing like part of the star, not filling the whole entire thing in. All right, so I'm going to leave those. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work with the blue. And I'm going to spray it with some water. And now I'm going to go ahead and just, again, this is like a really nice bright blue. These are really like true colors, the red, the blue, and so they're quite vivid. So I'm going to work mostly, I think, with the shadow kind of look on the left-hand side. Well, actually, I already started on the right, so I think I'm going to make the shadow on, more of a shadow on the right-hand side. So I'm going to start with the paint here. And this, like I said, this is a very small project, so don't worry about, like if you go out of the lines a little bit, you have to have a pretty steady hand to paint such small things. If you go out of the lines a little bit, it's not a problem because we're going to use that marker, like I said, to outline them anyway, and that will help if you have anything that happens like that. So kind of darker on the right-hand side and a little bit, and then just carrying the paint over with some water. So see how I'm making it dark right now. Then rinsing, blotting it a little bit, and then just kind of pulling this darker color over. That way it kind of keeps it dark on the right-hand side. And if you want to lift some of the color off, just blot your brush, and when it's a little bit dry, it will lift off pretty easily. So we're going to just do the same process for all the stars. First the blue, then we're going to do the red. Now, I have created wreaths like this before, actually quite a few of them. And I just kind of, like I draw a circle with something, and then I just freehandly paint leaves, flowers, and it's really super easy to do that. But since this has the stars, I decided that I would trace the whole thing, and it has the writing too, so I didn't necessarily want to have to freehand that. Now, if you're able to draw, you like to freehand it, you can do that for sure. But the thing that I hear over and over whenever I talk to women about painting is they say, many times they say, I can't even draw a stick figure. And I tell them, you don't have to know how to draw to paint. You really don't. So that's why I teach tracing quite a bit also. Now I'm probably going to go back and darken these stars up a little bit, just as a whole, because I want them to really be vivid. But for right now, I'm kind of just staying with the lighter. So Memorial Weekend, I guess it kind of kicks off summer for most people. Memorial Day weekend. And I think in all the excitement of warmer weather and, getting out and doing things, a lot of times, the true meaning of Memorial Day is a little bit lost. And I was really kind of thinking about that with my dad because we really didn't, like I said, we really didn't talk much about him being in the military, which is kind of sad. Okay, so next we're gonna move into painting the red stars. So you're gonna want to rinse your brush really well for this because these are dark colors, and if you mix your red into your blue, you're probably going to end up with purple stars, which might not be bad either, but I don't want purple stars, at least not for this project. Okay, so same thing. Stars that are left are all going to be red. And the reason why I'm doing these one by one like this is because if I were to go and paint like one side with the darker paint for all the stars and then come back and try to blend it, it would already be really dry, and so it would not be very easy to do that. So that's why I'm just doing them one at a time. And this is a really true red, but when I dilute it way down, it looks almost pink. And I don't want the stars to look pink either, so I am going to go back over them, and once I get these painted. And here I'm blotting my brush, drying it, and then lifting a little bit off of this side so the right-hand side looks a little bit darker. I'm just trying to give these stars a little bit of dimension. And they are not going to be perfect. They are not going to be perfect stars. They're hand done. They're meant to look hand done. So don't worry if your stars are not perfectly even on all sides. And I don't know, we're always our own worst critics. Especially women, we tend to discredit our strengths and the things that we do well, and then criticize ourselves for things that we feel like we don't do well. So I don't want you to do that at all. I would love for you to just really just kind of embrace the process of painting and enjoy it. And don't try very hard not to compare to anyone else. Many people who paint have been painting for years, and even if they say, oh, I'm new to watercolor, they might have been painting using acrylics or oils or drawing with pastels or who knows. And so artistic skills, kind of like sports, if you have good hand-eye coordination, it carries over from one to the next, or it can. So I never look at people who are way more advanced than me and think like, oh, why they're a beginner, why does mine not look that good? Well, I mean, I have thought that, but I work at it because I don't think it's something that we should do is compare like that. It just doesn't help anything. It even makes people feel bad who are the ones that have more talent, because, if other people are saying stuff like, oh my gosh, I could never do that. And everybody is creative in some way. Everybody, every single human. Okay, so I'm pretty good with the way that this looks so far. I'm going to go back and add a little bit more paint to these, but I'm going to let them dry first, and I'm going to go ahead and work on the leaves now. So these leaves are going to be mostly yellow and then a little bit of green. They're supposed to kind of look like springtime leaves that have just bloomed. I'm not sure, grown, I guess. So I'm going to add the yellow first. I'm just going to go around and add yellow not only to these leaves, but just to a little bit of area that's supposed to maybe look like little buds. So I'm just going to add little dots of yellow where the leaves, around the leaves, some of them. And I have drawn in the leaves, so that's what I'm going to focus on right now. Mainly are these leaves that I've drawn in. And I'm staying with this very small brush. I don't think you need any other type of brush for this project. Mainly just this tiny one. All right, then I'm going to go back and probably add some dots or some smaller kind of like buds. Maybe a little kind of like flower. And there's no perfect right way to do this. Just put them wherever you feel like you want a little bit of extra. I wouldn't worry about it being in any particular, like following me along exactly with this. Just kind of putting them wherever I want to. And this yellow that I'm using is kind of more of a gold yellow. But use whatever you have. And we're going to go back with the green and add more detail. So don't worry about it being like that these are just kind of floating in air. And when I'm doing this kind of work, I usually kind of step back, like I have a kind of a lot going on down here, so I think I'll probably add more at the top a little bit just to kind of balance it. It's better to have your heavier stuff at the bottom, like, you know, if you do have more weight, it should be at the bottom. Weight, and what I mean as far as whatever your art subject is. Heavier, darker colors at the bottom. But I'm going to try to balance it a little bit more by adding more at the top. Maybe a little bit here. And this is the kind of thing that you just kind of, less is more. It's easy to kind of overdo it. I think I'll make these into little flowers. All right, I like the way that looks. All right, so now I'm going to take my green, same brush, rinse it really well, and I'm going to use this like fairly dark. And I'm going to use just the very tip of my brush to create a fine line like this. And I'm going to use that for the stem of the wreath. And this, you know, I'm just kind of freehanding it with a very light touch. And I'm also going to add some stems and just a hint of green to some of these leaves. Now, if you don't want to do your wreath like this, you can do it with a pen. And that would be totally fine to do too. It always takes a little bit more steady hand to use paint versus another type of tool, a pen. So I think it's kind of easier to do the outline first and then go back and add these other little details. You don't have to put green on all of them. Again, this is kind of just an intuitive thing. You just kind of have fun with it. And again, because at the bottom here it's a little bit heavier, I'm gonna make it a little bit heavier up here. Just a tad bit. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. All right, so next what I'm going to do is rinse my brush again really well, and I'm going to take the blue again. And I'm actually going to put just a few little blue flowers mixed in here. And they're just going to be very small, kind of here and there. This is kind of probably just to add a little bit more interest. And while I have the blue, I am going to go back and add some more layers to the star, the blue stars. Kind of the same thing, doing it on the right, pulling the color across. And I feel like this is really starting to come to life with all the color. Really like it. My dad would have loved it. My dad's favorite color was red. And he had very beautiful blue eyes. My mom used to always have him wear blue because his eyes were blue. But none of us kids ended up with blue eyes, but all three of my children had blue eyes because my husband has blue eyes. So now I'm going back and doing the same thing with the red. I don't want it to look pink at all. I want it to look vivid, bright. I really want the stars to stand out. And we are going to go over these with a black pen outline, so like I said, don't worry if you go out of the lines a little bit. Okay, and then I think I'm just adding, as they dry too, they're probably going to look a little bit different. But I'm putting the most color on the right-hand side. All right, I am pretty good with that. And now I'm rinsing my brush again really well. And I'm going to try this gold. It's not really gold. I think the color is white gold, but it looks to me like more silvery. And I'm going to try that on the paper first and see what it looks like. Ah, it's beautiful. I don't know if you can see. It's quite shiny, and I'm sure when it dries, it's going to look fabulous. So I'm going to go back and add that to my stars. I think I'm just going to fill them in with this because I really like this a lot. I'll see what it looks like when it's dry. And, you know, if you don't have metallic paint, don't worry about it. Just leave it as gray. Like, I would just leave it the way that I had it, and I would just outline it with the black pen, which we're going to do anyway. But I haven't really used the metallics. This came in the set, and I really haven't used the metallics very much, and so I'm really kind of adds a special touch. And if you have like a metallic pen, maybe even in gold, you could use that. But like I said, do not worry that you don't have to have that to finish this. I just sort of last minute threw that in instead of the gray. Okay, and then the last thing now is to just let everything dry. Well, actually, no, you know what else I forgot was the little heart. I'm just going to use the same red. I'm going to make it quite dark. And I'm going to just fill in it fairly solid. There. All right, so now I'm going to let everything dry really well, and then I'm going to go back with my black pen and add the details and also the words, trace the words. Okay, so I've moved everything out of the way here, and now I have a Micron 05 permanent black ink pen. And this is the size that I like to use for most of my projects to outline. And I'm going to start just by doing the stars. And they should kind of have a little bit of a whimsical look to them. They shouldn't be perfect. They shouldn't look like they were produced by a machine. So don't worry, like this one I went out of the lines a little bit, totally fine. I really like the metallic paint. I'm going to use that a little more often, I think, just for fun. And when I do this, I don't press really hard. I just kind of have a light sketching motion. And I'm going to outline the little heart too. These are the main elements that I really want to stand out. Now, when I was waiting for the drying time, I actually went around and blended the greens a little bit more into my yellow leaves. And I think what I'm going to do is just outline some of these bigger leaves. Not all of them. But I can see the pencil, and I might even add a little to the green stem to really define it. Maybe add center to some of these little flowers. This is called watercolor sketching, and it's actually quite relaxing, fun to do, because there's no right or wrong way. I mean, what it really does is it defines your work, and it doesn't, there's nothing that has to be perfect with it, which is what's so nice. It's a very forgiving process. And it's supposed to kind of look like you drew it and then you went back and painted it. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. And I think I might just add a few more dots where I have these yellow dots. And you could even do a few randomly. And now I'm gonna just trace over the pencil for the handwriting. And what I've done before, this is just like a little tip. If you want, like say you're making a card for somebody and you want to put happy birthday, whoever their name is, you can go on any word processing program or Canva and you can find a font that you like this handwriting font, and you can type it in and print it out and then trace it on with your graphite paper like I have. And it just takes the pressure away of having to feel like, oh my gosh, now I have to write this thing on here and I want it to look straight and I want it to be spelled right and everything else. So what I do is just very lightly trace over the beautiful handwriting, because I don't have this beautiful handwriting. Probably if I really, really took my time, I could, but I just find it so much easier to do it this way. And I want this to kind of stay a little bit light, not have it be super dark. Okay, and then I think I still am going to sign my work here, because I always tell people sign your work. And the reason for that is just so that you can keep track mainly of the date and your progress. But I like to sign it to show like I really did this. I gave a card to someone recently and I said, I painted this for you, and they said, oh yeah, right, sure. I said, no, I really did. And she was just like, oh my gosh, like who does this? So it's very special to make something. And that's why I like to sign it too, so that they will always have the memory of that somebody made this for me, is an original. So I take the smaller pen, the 005, and I just like to do my initials. Almost always I do the right hand corner, and I just put my initials and the year. Okay, so this is done now, and probably when it's totally dry, I'll go back and erase the pencil lines that are in the center. But I think for now, like, I'm just happy with the way it turned out. It's colorful, it's fun, and it has a lot of great meaning. So if you enjoyed this project, please subscribe to my channel here on YouTube. I would love for you to follow my work, and I would love for you to send me your work. Send me anything that you create. You could do that in my Facebook group by posting in there. Leave me a comment in there. And I also am going to start doing a monthly paint-along live on Zoom, and it's for free. I also send out the Creative Heart Journal once a week on Friday, totally free, and there's a different seasonal theme. This week it's going to be Memorial Day, and so that's why I am doing this particular project. But seasonally themed and just a lot of fun stuff that I do, and it's all designed for complete beginners to watercolor and to painting in general. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.